Okay. Yeah, can we start?
Yes, sir.
Recording. Someone is mic is on some background. Yeah. Okay.
So shall I start?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Good evening to Anand present here. It's my pleasure in welcoming you all for this webinar on chatbots, social media, happiness, and the uh, ex- External method, a computer science perspective by Mr. Anand Manikutty, Director, Qwykr Technologies USA. I welcome all for this webinar. Now I request Mr. T.S. Rangarajan, Chair, IEEE LMAG Madras, to to welcome the gathering.
I think Ranga has posted a message. Huh? Akila, Ranga ஏதோ ஒரு மெசேஜ் போஸ்ட் பண்ணிருக்காரு பாருங்க.
Audio very poor போட்டிருக்கார்கள்.
Okay. Then in that case, okay, I will
Yes.
take over. Okay. Greetings and good evening to one and all. On behalf of IEEE Computer Society, IEEE Life Member Affinity Group, Computer Society of India, and ACM, I have great pleasure in welcoming our today's speaker, Mr. Anand Manikutty, members and my colleagues from the organizing units, and all the delegates joined through Google Meet meeting platform and those who are watching the YouTube streaming. In the age dominated by social media algorithms, digital distractions, and relentless productivity, what does it mean to be happy? And can computer science help us to get there? We are going to get an answer to this question. In this talk, the speaker, Mr. Anand, will explain the intersection of AI-powered chatbots, social platforms, and mental wellness, drawing on data from cutting-edge psychological research and his own work in strategic management. He will unpack how algorithmic systems can both erode and enhance human flourishing. This is a talk for engineers, researchers, technologists, and people from all walks of life who believe the human system starts with intentional design of software. One can expect a thoughtful, science-backed discussion that leaves with real tools and a weekend sense of what joy can mean in our time. And today's one is a sequel to the earlier talk and covers chatbots, social media, happiness in computer science perspective. Actually, last year in December, we ended the year with his talk on productivity and mental wellness in workplace. Now we are going to see how it is going to be happiness impacted by computer science and chatbots and social media. So let me formally introduce Mr. Anand Manikutty. As it was said that he is not a new speaker to us, he is a repeat speaker. He is a seasoned professional with over 2 decades of experience in technology, research, and strategic innovation. A graduate of prestigious institutions including IIT Madras, the University of Wisconsin, and Stanford University. His academic and research excellence has been recognized with awards such as Motorola Prize, the Institute Blues, the Governor's Gold Medal for 1997. He has authored or co-authored more than 10 papers in the field of computer science and engineering. Mr. Anand currently serves as the Chief Product Officer at Qwykr Technologist, where he leads the development of Flumo Live, a web-based games hub for trivia and wordplay. He also hosts a Flumo Talk series conducted in association with Esperanto and Conglag Society of South India. Mr. Anand holds more than 15 patents in areas such as XML, internet technology, and his work has been presented at top-tier conferences, including very large databases and ICD. In addition to his professional achievements, Mr. Anand is recognized writer, a creative thinker, blending technical insights with the literacy expression. His poetry has earned the 21st Century Emily Dickinson Award, and his blogging was honored with the Indie Blogs Award in 2004. Mr. Anand's expertise spans a wide array of domains, including database systems, operating systems, artificial intelligence, XML, and organizational strategy. Recently, he has focused on advancing workplace productivity and mental wellness. His recent projects explore how organizations can thrive by prioritizing mental health. His upcoming workshops will also present evidence-based strategies to boost productivity and well-being, equipping attendees and actionable insights to foster healthier, more resilient, and work environment. So with this introduction, now let me open the floor to Mr. Anand to enlighten our participants on chatbots, social media, and happiness. Over to Mr. Anand.
Thank you, Mr. Mohan. I really appreciate that very kind introduction. Thank you for helping organize this. Thank you also to Dr. Akila and everyone else who has played a role in organizing this, including Mr. Rangarajan. Thanks to all the organizations, including ACM Chennai, IEEE Chennai, CSI, and IEEE LMAG. And thanks also for a very generous introduction to my professional background. And I will try to take control of the window now. Hopefully, you should be able to see my screen. Perfect. Okay. So, the topic for today is chatbot, social media, happiness, and the Ekzercado method. So, why should you be interested in this talk? What are you going to get out of it? Let me get to that right away. I'm going to offer you 3 tools that you can implement right away. And what is interesting and significant is that with less than 20 minutes of actual time spent per day, you will start seeing an improvement in your happiness levels if you are on the low end of the scale. But there is even better news. Even if people are already happy, let us say on a scale of 1 to 10, we ask people to rate themselves on happiness. And some people rate themselves even at a 6 or a 7. 7 is not bad, right? Even those people will start seeing improvements in their happiness levels. So I'm going to offer you 3 tools, number one. And the second tool is such that you can do it in less than 20 minutes a day. And there is probably no better adventure in life than to incorporate a little more joy in your own life. Because when you make yourself happy, you'll find that it involves also making other people happy and your community happy, and eventually the nation happy. So this type of work has implications not only for you individually, but it has, multiple implications at the societal level and even at the national policy level. So this is very serious stuff. It's very serious stuff. And the type of issues that we tackle include very serious issues like physician burnout in the United States, physician burnout in India, and student suicides in India. We keep hearing stories of student suicides. So why not start thinking about it now? And by the way, improve our own happiness levels in the process. So this is very much a discussion on productivity and mental wellness in the workplace. So the tools we're going to offer are going to be helping you with mental wellness in the workplace. It'll help you cope with stress, etc. And most interestingly, there is a new philosophy I've developed, which is meant to be a rival to ancient philosophies like Stoicism and Epicureanism, which you'd have read about in your textbooks. But the time has come for us to ask if there is a better approach. Sure, the Greeks, they had figured out the distance between Alexandria and place X, and from that, they even maybe calculated the circumference of the Earth. But did they have the tools that we now have? And the next question we should ask is, what has Stoicism done for me lately? What has Marcus Aurelius done for me lately? Marcus Aurelius was a Roman emperor who was one of the most famous Stoics. What has he done for you? Has he made your life better? I would say that 9 out of 10 people in any gathering in Madras would say no, or Chennai, if you will. 9 out of 10 people here will say, no, I don't think Marcus Aurelius has made my life better. And, it includes ideas from positive psychology, but there's also this thing called the Ekzercado method, right? And so I'll be talking about all of this. I'm very excited to bring all of this to you. And here is the agenda for the meeting. And, might even reiterate some of the things I said. So remember I said, we're going to be offering you a simple tool that you can use, that you can, a simple tool refers to the first simple tool. It's a very simple tool that you can start using right away. And it can be used to reduce stress levels, number one. Number two, we're going to talk about how we think about it from a computer science point of view. In the previous talk, it was a highly social scientific oriented talk, a social science oriented talk, a company where you understand. So a lot of stuff from the social sciences were discovered, were discussed, right? Here, we're going to focus more on tools and things that you can actually apply in your daily life. And remember, less than 20 minutes per day. You're not going to be expected to spend hours and hours of your time. You're not going to be expected to read a ton of books, but the more books you read, the better. And that is just how it is, right? And one more thing, I might drop in a sentence or two in French, or I might say n'est-ce pas in French. But n'est-ce pas just means, isn't it? Comprenez-vous, that means, do you understand? It's because I generally am bilingual in my public presentations. And just know that I will translate everything in French into English soon after. And if I don't, send me email and ask me the meaning of the phrase that I did not translate. But trust me, so far it has not been a problem. And I've been giving presentations not only on this topic, but on other topics for a long time. So let us, so for this talk, I already given a talk, so I thought I'd do something a little different, right? I was going to prepare a brand new, never before seen talk. And that was one that's going to blow your mind. But then before we continue, I should come clean, My name is actually not Anand Manikutty. My name is actually Bond, James Bond, And yes, it's a genuine thrill to be addressing all of you ex-MI6 operatives. You're all MI6, right? Today, because if you guys are not MI6, then, you might need a refresher course. And for that, you'll have to watch at least 3 Bond movies. Okay, and I can assure you that this is classified information. So keep your martinis shaken, not stirred. And do keep your ears open, because I'm here to brief you on something of utmost importance. It is the La Jolla Projecto. It is not just a project. It comes with its own philosophy. It's a mission. It's a field operation in joy, mindfulness, and emotional clarity. And yes, it comes with its own set of tools or gadgets, if you will. And in fact, I happen to have one of those gadgets right here. Okay, this might look like an old cell phone. That's number one, gadget number one. Here is gadget number 2. And you may not even be able to start it, but Q has assured me that these gadgets, and maybe a gadget we already currently own, can be, here's number 4. So, like Bond, I have multiple gadgets, right? They can already be used to increase your happiness levels in the here and now, right? So why would you not want to pay attention to a talk that takes on this type of a challenge? And I'm happy to report that we have, as part of Qwykr Technologies and Fulmo Technologies, we've been in regular communication with Professor Vijay Govindarajan, who is a distinguished professor at Dartmouth. He is like a true mastermind in strategy, not unlike some of you here, right? And for the Fulmo Talk series, which we organized, we even coordinated with a very well-known artist. We coordinated with many researchers, and we were able to get one of the leading lights in positive psychology. She's one of the pioneers, Professor Sonia Lyubomirsky, to come and give a talk even, and she gave a part of the Fulmo Talk series. Okay, we even got a Nobel Prize winner interested, Al Roth, or as we like to call him in the business, we call him 006. So 006 has been noted, as everybody has noted, company will, you understand, noted as in, okay, so 006 or Al Roth, as he's now called, he's efficient, he's strategic, and he's very persuasive. And where do you think he gets all that? He's a former MI6 guy, right? And he is the kind of collaborator you want on your side when navigating the complex world of joy and human behavior. And why am I mentioning this? Because I want to add something important here. What are some of the reasons that people are not able to already understand this area well? And one of the major reasons is social media. So I've covered some of the problems related to disinformation in previous talk. I'll briefly touch upon them here. But basically what happens is companies like Google, etc., they have platforms like YouTube. And I phrase these comments very carefully. I might say something like, critics have argued that what Mr. Ranveer Alabadia says on his podcast, in terms of when he interviews people who claim to be even psychics, leaves something to be desired. And that is a very carefully worded statement, and it is made in such a way that, it is number one, true, and number 2, accurate, and number 2, legally accurate. So we cannot get into any trouble because I just said critics have argued this. But what we're actually saying, or let us take Kent Hovind. Kent Hovind is he doesn't believe in the theory of evolution. He believes that the earth is maybe a couple of thousand years old. That is what he actually believes, or at least he claims. He's been saying this for years now, so I can truly say that he believes this as a true statement. But the way I'll talk about it is I'll say, Mr. Kent Hovind has said that the earth is only a couple of thousand years old, or only a few thousand years old. I'm not even tracking everything he's saying. But here is what critics have argued. Critics have argued that the scientific consensus coming from geology, coming from fossils, coming from a variety of sources, the planet Earth is millions of years old. Millions. We're talking about thousands of millions. So we're talking in the billion range. You're talking about like 9 zeros plus. So, 1 followed by 9 zeros is a lot different from 1 followed by 3 zeros, right? Why do I say critics have argued? Because it is a true statement and it is not going to get any of us in trouble. And that is one of the things that we have to be doing as part of science communicators, that we're coming from the background of computer science or coming from the background of psychology or coming from the background of chemistry or physics. We have to communicate science, but we have to do it within the norms of the organization. So although I might make a statement like that, what it really means is that the scientific consensus is completely against, the Earth being a few thousand years old. It's against flat Earth, the flat Earth theory. You understand? The Earth is not flat. But I will just say critics have argued that. And so that is what social media is doing, because influencers get millions of views, whereas when I invited Sonia Livermersky, she came personally for our show, and she recorded a video personally for us. She's one of the featured speakers. She gets between 100 and 200 views. So what is the comparison? There is no comparison. We don't have a comparison. One is in a few, we're talking about 100 to 200, maybe 300. Eventually, it might get to a few hundred. But the influencers, they get millions of views. So that is really, in a nutshell, the role of social media. A lot of people are listening to these videos, listening to what these influencers have to say, and they're ultimately getting confused because they are forming a certain set of wrong opinions, right? So, it's not just 006 Ral Roth. There's also Avinash Dixit, one of the eminent economists, as we like to call him in the business, 004. Actually, I'll just break character. I'm not, obviously, James Bond, and these guys are not spies, but, it's just the in-joke. We're all in on this joke, right? So, but the thing is, why do I go to these researchers? I even tagged a billionaire on my Facebook myself. Okay? So I can even read, I even brought some material on what I exactly told him. It was just a matter of adding some more joy, or joya as we call it, in his life. And they will see it, even billionaires see it. Why do I do that? It's because I have nothing to hide, and I'm very confident that what I'm talking about is accurate, right? So if nothing else, please go to our website. We have lots of material that we have compiled. And the Full More Talk series I was referring to is also available. And we even have created a beautiful website for it. We also have a YouTube channel. So let me show you these wonderful resources, because as someone who has been a lecturer before, I'm always very keen to make sure that I catch at least a few people, with the right resources before, they've fallen asleep, So not that you guys will fall asleep, because you are MI6 operators, you're trained agents who, know how this stuff works. So I will post. I have the URL at the end of the presentation. But what I'll do is I will show you the first tool right away, so you can get a sense of it. So within the first 15 minutes itself, you can make your decisions as to whether it is the sort of thing that is of interest. But I can tell you, I've tried it out myself. I tried out these tools myself. I have spreadsheets, I have chatbots, I have apps. I have a lot of technologies that I've myself built to increase my own happiness levels and that of people around me. And this is one of the tools that I'm going to talk about. Okay, I'm going to take a few minutes now to talk about, tools. What I'm going to do, I'm going to pull up my own YouTube video, and I'm going to play that video so that you can get a sense of where we are going with all of this, and that'll also give me a break, give a break to my voice, so I can rest it a little bit. I'm having a little bit of a medical. A reaction to a medication. So I'll take over now and go to the other screen, and here is the YouTube video, and you'll now hear me talk. But as MI6 operatives, you are very familiar with how this whole stuff works. You're very tech savvy. So I'll just hit play, and you'll see that you'll see me discussing this tool. So let's give this a start. IEEE Society and ACM Society of. Hello, everyone. In preparation for my talk to the IEEE Society and ACM Society of Chennai, that is the Chennai chapter of these organizations, I'm preparing a brief intro to one of the tools that I'll be introducing as part of the talk. This talk will be in English, but I might also throw in some French, but please be. So are you guys able to hear it? Are you guys able to, is the video, audio coming through of the video? I'm able to see it on the other screen. Okay. Okay, perfect. Then I'll continue. Aware that I'll be translating everything from French into English always. So without further ado, let's get started. So this is a 2x2 that was introduced by Neil Pastricha, at least to me. It was a company. So Neil Pastricha introduced this 2x2 matrix, and that was the first time I saw it. And this 2x2 matrix is about how we can improve our decision making, and at the same time reduce stress levels when it comes to decision making. As you know, we have to make a whole lot of decisions throughout a particular work week, and so it is of significant interest to organizations as to how decision making can be improved. And so this is one of the tools that can be used for improving decision making, and it is similar to the Eisenhower matrix. So let's take a look at this tool. So in this tool, as you will see, you have some stuff on the x-axis and some stuff on the y-axis. So on the x-axis, we have importance. So we categorize decisions as being of low importance or of high importance. So some decisions, like say buying a home, are of high importance, whereas other decisions, like whether to take the first right turn or the second right turn to get to work, are of low importance. You understand? A company who just means do you understand in French, right? So okay. So low importance and high importance. That is the x-axis, right? So out here on the x-axis, and I don't think you're able to see my pointer. That's fine. On the y-axis, we have, here it is. Here's the pointer. Okay. Then on the y-axis over here, we have decision-making time. So some decisions take a lot of time to take. Like for instance, the purchase of a home can take a lot of time. And, it's a natural can. So it is natural that we spend a lot of time in the truly weighty decisions in order to make them correctly, in order to make sure that it comes out in our favor, etc. But some decisions are actually low time decisions. That is, in terms of the y-axis, they will come lower down. So that is, we have some decisions like say the decision of whether to take a right turn or not, or take the first right turn or the second right turn when going to work, or the first left into Oracle Parkway when you're trying to turn into Oracle Parkway, or not. These are the sort of decisions that don't take a lot of time. You accomplish the decision making in seconds, and those are the low time decisions, right? So now, why is all this stuff important? So say it's your birthday and you get 147 WhatsApp messages, right? And you get 3 surprise cakes and a questionable, maybe karaoke performance even. But by the next day, it is just Tuesday again. And your happiness, the happiness that you had on your birthday is gone, right? So if you want to, I'm sure you can relate to that. So you're happy one day and the next day it's all gone, right? And the question then is, how do we increase happiness levels on a more long-term basis, right? Or maybe, you had a weekend where you did nothing and felt amazing. And then a weekend came along where you did everything and still felt exhausted at the end of it, right? Turns out how you spend your time and why you spend your time matters more than how much time you have. And that is also one of the interesting aspects of long-term happiness. How you spend your time matters a lot, right? So if you want to somehow carve out more time so that we start doing those things that will lead to greater happiness, then we should maybe be very interested in this topic of how to reduce decision-making time, which is something this tool will help in. And also, this tool will also help us make better decisions, so we are actually better positioned in life in general. So company is just, you understand, right? We all want to have a good life, isn't it? Like, we all want to have a good life, but we all only have 24 hours in the day. We only have 7 days in the week, so a total of 168 hours during a week, and that is all that is given to all of us. So how do we make decisions so that they are both time optimal and also better quality, such that they improve our own quality of life? Number one, and number the quality. How do we improve the quality of the decisions? So once you have categorized decisions like this, so let's say we have this thought experiment. We go over an entire week and we note down each and every decision we take, and we categorize them as being, of low importance or of high importance, low time consumption or high time consumption, and we drop them all into this 2 by 2. So some decisions might come here in this quadrant, and some decisions might come here. So say you're purchasing a house that is of high importance, might take a lot of time, so it's out here. But some decisions are of low importance and they take very little time. Like, for instance, whether you're going to take the first right turn or the second one, and they might come out here, right? Out here. And then there is low, high, and high, low as well. So all the 4 combinations are possible. So I would like to first of all say that I like Neil Pasricha's talk a lot, but I'm going to critique his matrix. Okay, I'm going to offer my own thoughts on what are good ways to make decisions. Okay, so let's take a look at the decisions out here. The decisions that are of low importance and also that take low amounts of time. An example of this might be driving to work. So Neil Pasricha says the thing to do is, let's say you're driving to work, is to automate your decisions if possible, or stuff that is in this category you should automate. But I have a different perspective on that. Okay, so the perspective I have on that is, like, I would also add a third axis, or at least factor into account the urgency of the decision. If the decision is of low urgency and it is of low importance, then the right thing to do is to try to eliminate it altogether. Like, for instance, you might be getting 100 plus emails a day. So you want to maybe just eliminate some of those emails, just drop them directly into your trash first thing in the morning, so you don't have to even think about it, right? That's one strategy. Another strategy is to use filters, so they get automatically filtered into various folders in your email inbox. And then if they happen to be of low importance, you can just review them later, right? What Neil Pasricha says is not a bad idea, but in my opinion, the consideration of whether it is low urgency or high urgency also matters. Now, if it's a decision that is of low importance and high urgency, then what do we do? Well, first of all, if it is of low importance and of high urgency, like, for instance, you just, let me give you this example of a decision that I personally had to make, low importance and but high urgency. So this had to do with fixing a washing machine in our house. Another example is we had rats in our home and we lived in Boston, and we had to solve that problem. It's actually a low importance problem because you can actually live with a home with rats in them. But it at one point of time became like a high urgency item because the rats started, like, gnawing various things. And so now we are in a situation where, various things in the house. We had a home in we were renting an apartment in Brooklyn, Massachusetts. And so we had these rats and they were chewing up stuff. So it suddenly became an urgent thing to do, right? So the ideal thing is we never want to get into those types of situations at all, because you typically... All right, so we've watched 10 minutes of the talk. So what I'll do now is I'll just point you to the website itself where we'll be posting this talk, which we actually recorded for my apartment complex. And I'd like to continue with my talk so that I can get through with all the lecture slides, because we want to essentially point you off to this resource. It has not only will a link to this talk be posted. There are also a lot of wonderful talks here, which are all available for free. And one of the goals of the IEEE Society is to make available resources at low or zero cost. And we have, you see here, like the Fulmo Talks Series front page, we have featured talks. All you have to do is click that and you see these wonderful featured talks. You have, other featured videos. We have other happiness-related talks. We have a lot of really cool stuff. And we even ask the million-dollar question, what about the influencers? Are they right? Right? And we've crafted legally appropriate language here. And that is why I'm trying to walk you through this website too, because unless you understand why we have crafted this language in this very careful way, and that we are actually saying that a lot of the stuff that, say, Dr. Ken Goen believes or has argued is actually believed by widely to be wrong, it'll be very hard to get a sense of where we are going with it. But we have to do that to legally protect ourselves, right? So now we'll just come back to my presentation, right? So it is about, how do we know, for instance, that Ranveer Allahabadia's guest who claims to be a psychic is not really a psychic? So we know that because we have collected clean data from a variety of sciences, and we know for a fact that nobody can be psychic. So there's a quest for clean data. I introduced it in my previous talk. I said, all the sciences are very interested in this clean data thing, right? So the question I asked is, what is common to the Parker Space Probe, the Mars Curiosity Rover project, the Human Genome Project, and the Kepler Space Telescope, right? And what is common is the quest for clean data. You can see my slide deck. I'm, by the way, cycling through the slides in the large screen. Maybe you could make that the large viewable, in the large viewable window. Anyway, so I'll just continue because it's not a very information dense set of slides. So what we're saying here is that the quest for clean data is something that marks all the sciences. That includes physics, chemistry, etc. Right? So let me maybe just stop sharing my screen. I've already pointed you to this URL. It is like a simple URL to remember. It's just talkseries.org. We're very fortunate to get it. And talkseries.org used to be called fulmotalkseries.wordpress.com, but now it's talkseries.org. Very easy to remember. And we're offering zero to low cost and even zero cost tools that you can start immediately using to improve your own happiness levels. And that is why I mentioned all these researchers, because I want you to know that there's no one we wouldn't mind discussing this with. The empirical background, the empirical data, that is the experimental data that supports us, is so humongous, it's so vast that we don't fear bringing it up even to the attention of even the billionaire, okay? I personally actually tagged the billionaire. I personally emailed the Nobel Prize winner. So a lot of this work, has been done by a very small team. It's not as many people as you might think, even. So the reason I'm mentioning that is because we are very confident in our data sets, in our analysis of the data sets, and in our technologies. So what is so I've already briefly introduced you to the first tool. It was a video that was longer than 10 minutes, but I stopped it at the 10-minute mark. You can watch the rest of it. We'll post it to our website. You can get a full sense of the tool. It is very similar to other tools you may have encountered, but I critique the way Neil Pasricha presents it, because I, again, know what the clean data looks like. I know what the right analysis looks like. And I do like Neil Pasricha's talk, as I was saying, but I feel like we can improve on it. So we can make better decisions and we can also save on time, right? So that brings me to the next tool. So the next tool I have is actually very simple. It is basically involves engaging in a certain set of activities, each of which will take less than 20 minutes per day. Okay. And what are the types of activities? What are the sort of activities that I'm going to be talking about? I'm just introducing the tool right now. So one of it is acts of kindness. You just do something nice for someone and you'll find that you actually become happier. Okay. Nurturing social connections, spending time with friends and family. You spend time with friends and family and you become happier. Okay. Mindfulness and flow, engaging in mindfulness practices, is trying to stay in the moment, engaging in mindfulness meditation, and engaging in activities that promote flow. Flow is just, it's a concept in psychology. I would encourage you to listen to my previous talk because it gets into more of the social science of things. Here, I'm just trying to give you a sense of what the second tool looks like, and I'll cover it in more detail, right? I'll tell you exactly a set of activities that you could do, and each of which will take less than 20 minutes per day. And it will, if you practice it for 28 days or maybe 2 months, or at least, go for 3 months, all the research seems to indicate that these activities increase your happiness levels. In addition, there's a third tool, which I'm really excited about, and I'll be able to briefly cover it today. And there is Chatbots and how you can use that also. And I can even tell you how to do some of the building of the technology because, hey, we are scientists. We, as engineers, we try to solve problems altogether, not, complain about them, right? So as I already introduced us to le problem avec le social media, I've already introduced us to the problem with social media. The problems include burnout, disinformation, disconnection. And what mostly affects almost everyone in my apartment complex is disinformation. Because people are following these influencers thinking that they have read all these books and are offering information. But it turns out that the business models of large companies, many of them in the CS area, are such that like videos with large number of views, are the algorithms are going to recommend it to more and more people. But the ones with the millions of views may not actually be the ones with the best ideas and the best analysis. They may not be something of the quality that we've brought to the Fulmo Talk series, where we are very careful in curating who we let into the talk series. And we're also very careful, especially careful on what we call the featured talks. So this type of human curation AIs are not going to do. And even if someone did build an AI, large companies have no incentive. Why does Sundar Pichai have an incentive to make YouTube do anything different? And last time I had critiqued Narayana Murthy, and this time I'm critiquing Sundar Pichai. You might be wondering, Anand, what is your problem with billionaires? I don't have any problem with billionaires. In fact, there are a lot of billionaires out there, and if they want to slip me $1 billion, I would be happy to join the club. I'm serious. Happy to join the club of billionaires company. What I'm saying is that it is not that I have a problem with billionaires, but once you start getting into science, it is natural to say that what YouTube is doing is optimizing for profits, and what problems are introduced by social media include such things as burnout, disinformation, and disconnection. And we have therefore to be very careful. Again, you'll notice I'm being very careful in how I'm describing this stuff. If you come to our drawing room and ask me the same question, I might describe it very differently, because a public forum is a public forum and a private forum is a private forum. So you understand? So certain things I will not be saying, but I am aware of what is going on. So you can even ask ChatGPT, its opinion. I even checked on all this with ChatGPT before I came to the talk, and you'll find that it'll confirm everything I'm saying. So there you have, another tool you can use to increase your happiness by simply double checking if what I'm saying is correct or not. So what are the sources of the problem? Where does disinformation originate? So artificial intelligence is one of the sources. So in this slide deck will also be made available on talkseries.org. So you don't have to read every single word that I have on the slide deck, because you're going to get the slide deck for free. Zero cost, right? Zero cost to low cost is what we're trying to do to promote, and promoting the science, right? So artificial intelligence is not in the business necessarily of increasing your happiness levels. As I've already noted, YouTube uses artificial intelligence, and that is actually contributing to some of the confusion in the minds of people, as critics have argued. So, artificial intelligence is one, influencers are another, and life coaches are a third. So these are some of the sources of disinformation and misinformation. So I'm not, it is not necessary for you to read all these slides right now, because I'm going to anyway put it up now. That's number one. And number two, I would like to just cover it in a broad term. And so we all really understand. For instance, I would love to even go back to this because we have the time. Look at this. How do we know this is correct? It's because we've collected clean data, right? So what do we say here? We take all our decisions, we rate them as low importance or high importance. We rate them in terms of being low decision time versus high decision time. And then we follow this matrix, or even better, follow my video and see what I recommend in the video, how you can improve your decision making. And at the same time, not only are you making better decisions, are you not only purchasing the right house, you're also saving on decision making time, and that is another plus. So the reason I even do this is because when you want to explain a concept, you mention it once, then you repeat it, and then you repeat it a second time. So I'm going to try and make sure you understand very well what the first tool is. And I'm going to now talk about the second tool once more. And what the second tool is about engaging in specific activities. And we call them intensia agadoi in Esperanto. It just means intentional activities. So we want you to engage in certain intentional activities. And if you do that, and you can read the book, The How of Happiness, it'll help increase the happiness levels. Now, people have often asked me, is it only happiness that you can increase? No, you can also increase resilience. We know about tools that we have that can also help you increase your resilience. And that is what almost every life coach should be able to tell you about. They should be able to tell you about what tools do exist to improve your resilience. So if you think, okay, I don't think this is going to work for me, well, that's going to be a longer explanation as to why it could work, and what are the sort of ways, what are the sort of techniques we'll use to ensure that it works for you, right? But resilience, think about it, there are so many life coaches who are advocating techniques for improving resilience. So surely there must be something there, right? So again, I again wanted to bring that tool in front of you so that you get a sense of what it is that the tool is going to have. And it is going to have a set of activities, right? So mentioned the tool number one, I mentioned tool number two. Now I'll introduce tool number three. Tool number three is about building chatbots. And what the chatbots can help us do is the chatbots can help us become more happy by being more resilient, okay? And also by incorporating intentional activities. So I'll try to cover the chatbots. I'll even show you how to build some of it using ChatGPT. After all, this is IEEE, and this is IEEE Society, and this is so we have people from IEEE Society members here, and we have people from ACM Society as well. So that is something that is also within the mandate of IEEE Society, not just promoting the science, but also maybe providing people actual tools that they can use. So so again, the decision making matters, right? We know that we have to make a lot of decisions throughout the day. And why does it matter? Because you have to make an average of 295 decisions per day. This is an estimate. And you check your phone 150 times during the day. So you're making probably decisions each time you check the phone. So about half of your decisions, or maybe a quarter of your decisions, might be coming just from checking your phone. And when you're engaging in so much decision making, then you want to just get it absolutely right. So how are we going to improve on decision making? What is the tool? Well, the second mention, the second repeated mention, the third mention. So we use a tool like this. We take our decisions spread throughout the week. We categorize them as being of low importance or high importance, or low decision time or high decision time. And then what we do is we put them in one of these 4 quadrants, and then we just either automate it if it is low, we regulate it if it is high-low, if it is high, we debate, and if it is low-high, we effectuate. So it's a simple tool that is covered more in as part of the video, which we've already put on our on our Fulmo Technologies website, YouTube channel rather, and we'll link to it all from the talkseries.org site, which you can use as a resource. As I already mentioned, it has some wonderful talks on happiness. But what is interesting is that they're curated talks, right? So, basically, the quest for clean data and accurate analysis, that is what we said we're really after. We want clean data and we want good analysis, the right analysis, so that we don't end up like trying to think that psychics are going to solve our problems, for instance, right? So where has the quest for clean data and accurate analysis led us? That's the natural next question. Well, it has led to books like that written by Professor Sonia Lyubomirsky and Professor Martin Seligman. And Sonia Lyubomirsky, being a pioneer in the field of positive psychology, I was personally discussing this with her, and I even told her that one of the tools I'm going to be mentioning to you, I'm going to like send a description of that to her, and let us see if there's yet another that's like fourth tool. I may not be able to cover it. So if I do manage to, if I'm able to cover it today, then I'll mention it as such to Professor Sonia Lyubomirsky. Otherwise, I'll have to say that I was not able to cover it. Maybe I'll cover it next time, right? So there is a lot of tools available, but what is also equally important is to understand how these guys conduct research and why clean data is important and all that. And now this topic I've covered in my previous talk, but here I'll give you a very broad summary because that gets into the social psychology. Here we're just providing tools and making this talk very accessible so that everyone can understand it, including people who may or may not have a PhD in happiness studies, right? Or they may have finished 12th standard with flying distinction or whatever, and that is sufficient to understand what is being discussed in this talk and what is coming next. So, as I discussed in my previous talk, and I went into a lot of detail about it also, 50% of your happiness comes from a genetic set point, not really change it, but 10% of it only comes from your life circumstances, only 10%. So one of the opening questions in one of her books is, Sonia Lyubomirsky's book is, which do you think will affect your happiness the most? Which do you think will affect your happiness the most? The death of a spouse, the death of a parent, divorce, losing 2 limbs. Okay, losing 2 limbs is one of the classic, it almost feels like a joke. Losing 4 limbs, which of them is going to affect your happiness the most? I don't know if this is part of the list, but these are some of the things that you might ask as happiness research. Someone who has studied the field of happiness research, and I ask someone who has not, and invariably people will get it wrong because only 10% of your happiness comes from your life circumstances. So just to cover this idea very briefly, even paraplegics who lose all 4 limbs, after some time, they learn to use wheelchairs and they start like adjusting to their new life, and they become about as happy as they were before, believe it or not. And that is why we have now come to believe that around only 10% of your happiness comes from your life circumstances. And 40% of it actually comes from your intentional activities. So what this also means is, even if your happiness level, I mentioned this before, is at a 6 or a 7, you can actually still increase it and make it go closer to an 8 or a 9. And I've personally done this myself. So I know it'll work. I know it will work, and I know it works because I've tried it myself. But I know it will work because I've seen the empirical research. I've seen the experimental research, right? Experimental results. So that is what we learned from the How of Happiness, from the book The How of Happiness, Company, you understand? And now that I've covered most of what I wanted to cover, I'll briefly touch upon the rest of the slides because it's important for me to give you these slides, to give an overview of the slides so that once I put it on the website, you'll be able to more easily follow along what has been covered. Okay, so what I talk about on this slide is what are the intentional activities that boost happiness. This includes practicing gratitude, cultivating optimism, and then some of the things that I already covered. So there's a copy of virtually the same, or a copy of the previous slide that I have. And what we're trying to say here, this is basically part of Sonia Lyubomirsky's book and research, right? So now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about this Cheats framework, okay, briefly. What is the Cheats framework? It basically says that these are the type of things that make people happy: compassion, honesty, effort, attention, thankfulness, stillness. And it is called the Cheats framework because once you start engaging in these activities, it almost feels like cheating. It's so easy to do, and it increases your happiness level. So now comes tool 2. I'm going to discuss tool 2 once more. And now I'm going to give you exactly 5 activities. You can pick and choose that you have to engage in not more than 20 minutes a day, and you engage in them, and you'll start seeing a noticeable improvement in your happiness levels, assuming that you have a certain baseline set of things set up. It makes a number of assumptions. That's how science works. We have to clarify our assumptions. So you could even say that this seems appropriate for people who lead middle-class lives, or there's been studied a lot on people who lead middle-class lives, and so it may be appropriate for them. But if you're going through a really tough time, then we have, I mentioned the new philosophy, the Joy Philosophia. There's another one called La Resistenzo Filosofio. That is for people who have to cultivate more resilience. It's also called La Philosophie de la Résilience in French. So, the Cheats framework, let me tell you, this is the second tool. And what it basically says is you can just walk for 20 minutes per week, 3 sessions per week. That is one of the activities that Neil Pasricha recommends, and I concur with him. 20 minutes journaling session. This is also a wonderful one. 5 random acts of kindness. But what I would say is read the book, The How of Happiness. And Sonia Lubomirsky has a description of the sort of algorithms, the sort of techniques that you should use to gain more happiness. Because random acts of kindness can be of all sorts of ways. You can decide to donate half your wealth. That's a random act of kindness. But will it permanently increase your happiness level? I find it hard to believe it would, because eventually you will feel like, maybe 2 years later, you might even have forgotten that you donated half your wealth. And that may not be as optimal. Meditation, I recommend this also, 10 to 20 minutes. But again, meditation is not essential. And I think there may be maybe even too much of an emphasis on meditation in the Indian context. It may not be appropriate for some people and may even be making them sadder. So keep that in mind. And 5 gratitudes, name 5 things you're grateful for. Again, I would recommend for people to read the book, The How of Happiness. And it has some tips and tricks as to how you can do these things, like expressing gratitude in a way that is maximally beneficial. Okay, so the takeaway on happiness, this is from my previous talk, is that basically what you should do is you'd start with activities you already enjoy doing, and then add a list of activities, augment it with research-backed activities in order of impact and feasibility, something that has high impact and is highly feasible, okay, and also preferably low cost. So if you augment your list like this, and you watch my previous talk, and I go into that, and I should say that I was giving the talk, I was having a very severe medical reaction. I was not doing very well that day. So if I was speaking a little faster than I usually do, and this talk, I think I'm not it's just a very minor medical reaction I'm having today. So I'm doing a lot better. So take that, take that talk, listen to it, and also by all means read the books, because the books have a lot of wealth of information. And I even want to clarify some of these points that this tool is also the second tool is also from Neil Pasricha's talk, this one. But I want to maybe even have to come back and explain, how you can optimize your happiness, even if you're engaging in, say, acts of kindness or in gratitude, naming things you're grateful for. Okay, even there, optimizations are possible. Okay, so it's a vast area. There are a lot of clever things you can do, and this is basically the tool that I have personally developed. You start with the list of activities you already like, start with the activities you already enjoy, and then add a list of research-backed activities in order of impact and feasibility. Okay, so then I just want to very briefly also mention Martin Seligman's book and research. I also covered it in my previous talk. Basically, he mentions that he argues there are 3 paths to happiness: the pleasant life, the engaged life, and the meaningful life. And there's all assigned reading for you guys. You can go and read up on it. I will no longer pretend that you're MI6 operatives, or maybe I will. Just ask M permission to get yourself some good vacation time. Maybe spend some time in the Bahamas, because that's kind of where, like, MI6 operators seem to hang out, at least in the movies. Since you're all MI6 operatives, I hope to see you all there at the Bahamas, because of course I'm also going to be there, right? Exactly. So just kidding. So what I'm saying is the Ekzercado method is a book about how you can engage in reading and thereby increase your mental wellness, right? And so it gives a better. So what it argues is that you should read a certain set of books. Okay, what it argues is you should read more. You should develop. You should read books, and it gives you techniques on how you can read books more effectively. And if you combine it with the type of books I'm recommending for people to read, you'll start hopefully developing a better idea and a better sense of what positive psychology, the area of research in it. Sonia Livermersky and Mark Seligman, they work in that area, right? So you'll get more of a sense of that field. Okay. And I'm also hoping to record this talk separately and upload it because my microphone is not very good. And what I found is it seems to drop some adjectives here and some words there when you hear it on YouTube. So I want to at least have one recording, at least for myself, which I'll upload to YouTube, so that you'll see that I'm actually not dropping any words. It's just the microphone not picking things up. So anyway, that brings me to the third tool, which is the Ekzercado method, and how rather not the Ekzercado method. It brings me to the topic of the third tool, which is the chatbot. So the chatbot, I may have to come back to cover it in more detail, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to now try to show you how you can ask ChatGPT to directly build you a chatbot. Okay, so ChatGPT can actually build you an entire chatbot. The secret sauce that our company has is how you build a chatbot. So if you build a chatbot in a particular way and you ask it to do a particular set of things, you'll find that not only are you going to be happier, a lot of people around you are also going to get happier, and they're going to even tell you about it. They're going to say, "Oh yeah, that was like a very nice thing that happened that day," or "That was a very nice thing that you introduced me to that time," and it will also increase your happiness levels, right? So let me now switch over to this is going to be tricky because I'm on this screen. And let me start presenting a different screen. Okay. AI ChatGPT. Okay. Are you able to see my screen with the stop sharing, it says? Okay. You know what I'll do? I'll just give you the prompts. I'll do one thing. I will just tell you verbally how you can do it. So what you have to do is quite simple. You just have to tell ChatGPT to build a chatbot. Okay. But what kind of chatbot should you ask it to build? I cannot really reveal all the details of the chatbot. What I can say is all you have to do is ask ChatGPT to train it on La Gioia Filosofia. Just ask it to go to the La Gioia Filosofia website and ask it to train itself on the website and build a chatbot based on the website. Okay. So the first prompt might be, can you build? Do you know how to build a chatbot using Python and Flask? And if so, what will be your directory structure and what will be the architectures? So it'll answer that question. Then you say, okay, I just need the front end. I don't even really need the back end. Can you please code up the back end? Show me the templates directory. Show me the the directory where you've got the .py file, etc. And then, what you can do is you can ask ChatGPT to code up the whole thing. Then you debug it. Look at how beautifully computer science works for us now that we have ChatGPT. You ask it to code it up, and it'll give you almost the entire application. And just by telling you to try it itself. So I actually only have a few more slides to cover, because this is the main part of what I want to cover. The 3 tools. I offered you all 3 tools, and these are extremely powerful tools. As I said, physician burnout on the slide, as I'm saying on this slide, physician burnout on this slide, student mental wellness. And what I mean by that is literally the student suicide crisis in India. These chatbots seem to be increasing happiness levels exactly as predicted by positive psychology. And that is why I'm so thrilled to introduce them to you, right? And what is all this leading to? It is leading to a new philosophy. It is leading to you understand? It is leading to a new philosophy. What is this new philosophy? The new philosophy says that it is a good thing to put joy in the center of your life. In fact, joy is a form of a responsibility. Why do we need the new philosophy? Because the world is saturated with anxiety, alienation, burnout, etc. And traditional philosophies are often feeling too abstract for people. Did Marcus Aurelius build a chatbot, right? Did Epicurus build a chatbot? If so, where is it? Did even Jean-Paul Sartre, he won a Nobel Prize for his philosophy called existentialism. Did he build a chatbot? Did he give me a tool? I would say not only did existentialism come about without any tools, it is not even based on empirical research, whereas my philosophy is actually based on empirical research. And not only, is the empirical research there, and it's, I know exactly what many of the experiments also look like. I even coded up chatbots, and I've increased the happiness levels of people around me as well. So, it is true that traditional philosophies feel too abstract. They feel too outdated. And why? Because in some sense, they are abstract. They don't give you the set of answers that you need. And so that is how Joya Philosophia was born. Joya in Esperanto simply means joy. So Joya Philosophia just means the happy philosophy. And it is as simple as that. It's nothing more complicated than that. It has a set of core tenets. We have a website for it. There is also an adjunct philosophy called a resistance for philosophy for people who are really having a tough time, right? And it incorporates the Cheats framework, and it goes from theory to action. It goes from theory to action. It is not just theory for theory's sake, and it is basically a philosophy that rolls up its sleeves and gets to work, right? And that is what we want. And so we have all the website URLs here also. And, it's very hard, essentially, for me to convey all this information in the span of a short talk. Of even I've been using a very different technique to communicate all of this. I basically sit down with people and discuss these things with them over long sessions, so their mental models are correctly oriented. So what I do have is not like more discussion stuff. What I do have now are a set of URLs that you can that will also be posted to the talkseries.org website. Easy enough to remember, talkseries.org. And we'll provide the slide deck. You can navigate to all these URLs, and you can get additional information as you can browse through it based on your convenience and as you wish. So to sum it up, the feeling when you've maybe finalized an entire, you've finished an entire season of Netflix, or you've finished an entire season of a show, and then you're still not sure if you're actually going to be happier or you're just out of snacks, right? Today, we talked about things that actually move the happiness needle, right? So it is also maybe you've taken a vacation, right? You notice that the vacation vibes, they fade faster than your tan. 2 days later, you're back to work, and the vacation is a distant memory. So what we're discussing is how science can keep your mood up long after that suitcase is unpacked. So thank you, everyone. I appreciate you all coming here and listening to this talk. I do have answers to a number of questions that were posted on while people registered. And I don't know if I'll have time to cover it, but we will post information on either talkseries.org or fullmo.live about a clubhouse discussion where people can come and have their question answered. And we did it deliberately because there are 4 questions. Each of them require long answers. Each of those answers itself, like, many, at least 3 of those, I got 4 questions, and each of those answers itself runs into like 3 paragraphs. And I won't be able to cover so many paragraphs. The idea here is to cover the core concepts, right? Cover the core concepts. And you already have 2 tools which don't even require any technology. The third tool, you just had to tell your chatbot to train itself on the La Jolla Philosophia website, and ChatGPT will build that website for you in a jiffy, or that app for you in a jiffy, and you'll have your chatbot ready to go. And give it a shot and see if you enjoy interacting with the chatbot. If not, you may have to debug it a little bit. And on the note of debugging, let me end this talk. Let us debug our own happiness, and that is happiness from a computer science perspective. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your suggestion. So, as you mentioned, the questions are there where you told that you have answered it in your page. So, can I have only one question here, sir?
Oh, sure. I have answers to all the questions here. So,
No.
any question?
Yeah, one question, which I feel that it is more relevant to this particular theme. How can AI-powered chatbots be designed to promote genuine emotional well-beings without replacing human connection?
Oh, that's a very good question. It's a very interesting question as well. So basically, AI chatbots and AI technologies can be designed for emotional well-being, right? But they will work if we treat them as supplements, not substitutes for human connection. Supplements, not substitutes. See, and I think there are basically 3 design principles that I've noted down as being important in this context. Number 1, boundaries and transparency. The chatbot or AI technology should be clear that it's not human, and it should respect the human's boundaries. It should encourage also the user to connect with real people. That is how you build an ethical AI in this context, okay? Number 2, it should use evidence-based practices, the second design principle. And so we can embed ideas from positive psychology, from La Jolla Philosophia. We can embed ideas like gratitude prompts, reframing exercises, etc., so that the interaction is uplifting and constructive. It should not be addictive. And the way I explained this to someone in Bangalore, he was sitting in a coffee shop, is you have LinkedIn, you have Facebook, you have all these social media platforms. Don't they make you sad sometimes? Don't they leave you feeling worse off than you were feeling before? Yes, they do. So what the world needs is these chatbots, because these chatbots are anti-Facebook, anti-Instagram, because they make you actually feel better. And the third design principle is it should be a bridge. These technologies should be a bridge to human contact. So the technology, the chatbot can nudge a user towards real world action. Say for instance, why not call a friend or something? Or here's a journaling exercise. But it should try to bring the human into the picture. And those design principles, I think, are what are going to matter. So what is going to distinguish companies which make human-centric technologies like what we are doing, Fullmo. And here, again, I'm not trying to sell you anything, because a lot of these resources are made available for free. And given the nature of the economics, we are actually more interested in solving social issues for which I don't know if there is a lot of money, right? But these 3 design principles, boundaries and transparency, evidence-based practices, and bridge to human contact. I think these design principles are what will save a company from building AI technologies that are purely for profit.
Thank you so much for your very elaborative answer, sir. There is one question again from the chat box now. 1 minute, sir.
Oh, right.
How can we design chatbots that balance automation with genuine human-like empathy, especially when dealing with sensitive topics on social media?
Okay, so I'll give a one sentence maybe answer or something like that, because it's, this is a very tough question. So how can we design a chatbot that balance automation of human-like sensitivity, empathy, right? See, there are various different machine learning approaches that are available. There is, for instance, the transformer-based models. Okay, I have some notes here. There is BERT, there is Roberta, there is GPT variants. Now, each of those each of those models, rather, each of those transformer-based models can underlie a chatbot. Okay, but how do you design the chatbot to observe the design principles? That is going to be a challenge. Number two, multimodal models. We have multimodal models which combine text, voice, tone, and facial expressions, right? We can design chatbots using that also. But unless we incorporate those design principles, it's not going to work. Number three, specialized sentiment and emotion classifiers. These can also underlie the chatbot. But ultimately, I think what is really needed is people will need to start talking to people who have expertise in the field, who can then guide them in the right direction. Because I think a chatbot, even ChatGPT alone, even without building any chatbots, can help you. But how you build the chatbot, what design principles you use will matter. And so again, I'll reiterate the design principles: boundaries and transparency, evidence-based practices, bridge to human contact. I think those are how chatbots should be designed. But whether they're going to work without human interaction, I think the jury is out on that. We don't know the answer to that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the nice answer for this question. So, without further delay, I'll just propose the formal vote of thanks. It's my privilege to propose the vote of thanks. So, we had a very good topic today: chatbots, social media, and happiness, and Ekzercado method, a computer science perspective. So, the speaker started with the importance and the time matrix, 2 by 2 matrix. And then he mentioned about the intentional activities that boost happiness. So he just told about practicing gratitude, cultivating optimism, and acts of kindness, etc. So also he just told about the sources of the problem where disinformation originates. So he just mentioned some of the things over there. And then he just spoke about how to have happiness: 50% on genetic set point, and 10% on life circumstances, and 40% on intentional activities. He also spoke about the cheat framework, and he ended with the Ekzercado method, reading activities for mental healthness, and he ended with a new philosophy, a philosophy of joy as responsibility. Thank you for the wonderful session, sir. And I take this opportunity to thank all the organizing units, IEEE, CS, IEEE, LMAG, IEEE, and then CSI and ACM for jointly organizing this. I take special note to thank our mentor, Mr. H.R. Mohan, sir, for organizing such events. Thank you, sir. Last but not the least, I thank all the participants for actively participating in this webinar. Thank you all. Have a nice day.
Thank you. I know. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.